Welcome to the lovely Epsom Downs Racecourse. My name is Mark Robbins. I'm a founder here of Native Gravity. We're a digital talent specialist here in the UK, and welcoming Dan from the Home Office, who's done a talk on the visa application process this afternoon. So yeah, welcome. Just to kick things off, I would like to ask about, I guess a lot of employers are asking about the application process. How efficient, how effective, and sort of, I guess from their perspective, how easy is it to sort of go about it at the moment?
Yeah, so if you are sponsoring an overseas worker to come and work in the UK, we've made a number of process changes to kind of make that a slicker, faster process for employers. So we have reduced the processing time by up to 8 weeks by removing the resident labour market tests. We've suspended our cap of numbers. We have changed the way we issue certificates of sponsorship to kind of quicken that up. But we know that we need to do more. We have published, it was just in the past few weeks, our sponsorship roadmap, and that kind of sets out our vision for how that whole system is going to be overhauled over the next few years. We want to make that a really much improved service for employers, but also the customer journey. So the applicants applying for the visas, we're going to get a whole new IT system on there, and we're really at that listening stage at the moment where we want to make sure that we can remove the barriers for small businesses and just make it more accessible for everyone.
And in terms of costs for employers, what does that range for a small business on average now?
So there are reduced rates for small businesses and charities. Fee that you pay depends on the size and nature of your business. There are also fees that go alongside that for you apply to get your sponsorship license. That will entail a fee. You will pay a fee for each person that you sponsor to come into the UK, and you may also have to pay the immigration skills surcharge if that's applicable to the role that you fill in.
You mentioned your talk around a graduate's visa.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite interesting. Could you just give us a quick overview of what that looks like?
That's our most recent route to open. So that opened in July. And what that means is that any foreign students who graduate in the UK from a higher education establishment with a good track record of compliance, they can apply for a graduate visa, which allows them to remain in the UK after their studies for 2 years, 3 years if you graduate with a PhD. And during that time frame, you can work in any profession, you can work at any skill level, any salary level, and that's a 2 or 3 year visa.
Great.
And so that's really good for employers because you don't need to sponsor that individual to do that. So you don't need to be,
There's no restrictions.
Have a sponsor license. You don't have to pay. Obviously, there's a fee for the applicant, but not for the employer.
Okay, fantastic. I went through a scenario in my head of a candidate we spoke to recently, marketing director. It's coming out from South Africa, has an Irish passport. I understand it's fairly straightforward for that individual.
So what's really important to note in the when we're discussing things like the new points-based system or even the EU settlement scheme, our relationship with Ireland and the common travel area has not changed. If someone has an Irish passport, they're an Irish national. They don't need to be sponsored. They can come in, they can work at any skill level in any role. They don't need to apply to the EU settlement scheme either. They can do because they're eligible because they are also an EU national, but they don't need to as an Irish citizen.
Okay. And obviously, looking at the EU settlement scheme, I understand it was the end of last year was kind of the cut-off. Are you still receiving applications? What's the latest with that in terms of deadlines?
The cut-off for people to make applications was the 30th of June of this year, and those eligible are those EU nationals and their family members who were in the UK before the end of last year. But we want to make sure really that no one is left behind. So if you haven't yet made an application to the scheme, we are still accepting applications. We are still receiving late applications. So if you didn't understand what you need to do, you weren't aware, you couldn't get on the internet, you didn't have the English language skills, we will still continue to accept late applications. And also in scenarios where someone may have been prevented from making an application, they might have been a victim of domestic violence, they might have been a victim of modern slavery. If it's a child and their parents never applied, please, we just encourage everyone to continue to make applications if they were in the UK before the end of last year.
Okay, great. And I guess from an agency or an employer perspective, obviously just check-in status is important. Has our sort of process changed? I know obviously online check-in was obviously you've got the pre-settlement status check-in as well.
Yeah.
What do we need to do as an absolute minimum?
So for those who are employing EU nationals, it's actually a lot more straightforward now, and we're not really, employers don't have to interpret lots of different identity documents. They don't need to know whether is this an Italian ID card. If someone has status under the EU settlement scheme, or indeed they're an EU national who has status under the points-based system, or actually an EU national who's got status under the graduate route, we're giving more and more people these digital immigration statuses. And what they do there is they log into their status, they produce a share code that they can present to their employer or a landlord or another service provider. All you need to do then is log in via gov.uk, you enter the share code that you've been given and the applicant's date of birth, and that will present you with a picture of the person and what their entitlements are and their visa status. So it's a lot more straightforward. And in general, so we made some concessions to right to work checks during the COVID period. So for those people who don't fall into that category of having that status, we suspended the having to do in-person checks. We let them be done digitally.
That's right, yeah. Just been extended,
we've just extended that. That's from direct feedback from employers. So there's going to be that situation until next year.
Hopefully that will continue. I think it can be a nightmare with remote workers trying to meet them, etc.
In general, it's that direction of travel in that we want a digital immigration system.
Yeah. Okay, great. I don't know if there's any other sort of tips and tricks or anything that I've kind of not sort of covered that you'd like to highlight.
I definitely think that the big question for employers now is do I need to become a Home Office sponsor or not? So it's important that you look at the people that you're trying to recruit, and obviously we want people to also look at the resident labour market. And there are categories of people that you can employ without becoming a sponsor. So we've mentioned the graduate route, but there is also our route that opened in January for Hong Kong nationals, or British nationals overseas, Hong Kong visa. That's again a really straightforward online application process, and that's for Hong Kong nationals protected who feel that moving to the UK is an appropriate choice for them. So that represents our government's commitment to its Hong Kong British nationals overseas citizens. Those people can apply, they can bring their family members to them, and those people again can work in the UK without being sponsored.
Okay. And HR directors, recruitment managers, business owners, they often want to know where to start. Just sort of, it's a real headache for them. They've got a skills shortage in the team. Where do they start? Who do they need to speak to?
So we've got a real suite of resources on gov.uk. So we've got an introduction to the points-based system for employers. We've got guides that are aimed at EU nationals, EU workers, EU visitors. We've even got a podcast that you can download and listen while you're out on a power walk. There's plenty of materials.
Big fan of those. Okay, great. Well, Dan, thanks very much for taking your time today, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right.